Well, hello all you wonderful people out there in YouTube land. This is a Texas special. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time stopping by. If you're a returning visitor, I genuinely appreciate the love and support that you guys have shown the channel. For this July 2023 HO scale product review, we're going to be taking a look at these 50-foot mechanical refrigerated boxcars. These three here were actually purchased back in February at the 2023 Greater Houston Train Show. This guy here was a generous donation from a friend and supporter of the channel. So these are all Athearn Blue Box models, from what I can tell. They are also, as you can tell by the catwalks up top, older cars. These are flirting right with the very early limit of the 1985 to 1995 time period that I have specified for this Stars Hollow railroad. I do have some 57-foot mechanical reefers that'll fit a more modern time frame, but those are on my wish list with trainworld.com, and in terms of getting the railroad a little bit more dressed up, those are actually a lot farther down on the priorities list than a few of the other things I have going on. So let's take a look at these cars. Since these are all Athearn Blue Box cars, I'm only going to pull one aside for us to take a look at because they're all identical with the exception of this is Northern Pacific, Pacific Fruit Express, Santa Fe, and Swift. Big shocker, I went with taking a look at the Pacific Fruit Express car. I know, no one saw that coming. So these cars are actually very well done. These are, as I said, these are older cars, not only as far as the time frame that they represent, that these cars were used in, but also the models themselves are a little aged. But that's fine. They do a very good job of filling in for their intended purpose. These cars were purchased for the Ducey's food industry, which the rest of you out there in the world would know it as the Walters grocery distributor kit. These were kit cars. As you can tell, they've been assembled by a previous owner. The catwalk up top is separately applied. The handbrake over here on the B end of the car is separately applied. These cars have been upgraded with metal wheels and Katie number 5s. The ladders and stirrup steps are all cast onto the car, as well as the vents for the air intakes and exhaust for the generator for the refrigeration unit for the car. All of the lettering on this car is very well done. It's very legible. It's very clearly done. And there is no bleed over or whatever between the black and the orange on the car. Same can be said for the silver on the roof and the black on the car ends. Okay, so taking a peek at the underside of the car, you can see here truck mounted couplers. As I said, these cars are all identical. The only difference is the paint jobs, the respective road names, and this one actually does have the fuel tanks for the refrigeration unit. So you can see the car frame details, emergency and service reservoir detail here, the air piston, the triple valve that controls the air brake system, body mounted knuckle couplers, and just regular 100-ton roller bearing trucks. Really not a whole lot to the underside of this car. As I said, this is a late 80s, early 90s model car. So you get what you get, and these are actually some pretty good cars. Okay, here's a little bit better look at the roof of the car. You can see nice, evenly applied paint job, separately applied brakeman's rooftop walkway there. About all there is to this car as far as the roof details go. Alright, here we have the B end of the car. You can see the separately applied handbrake wheel up in the top center left. You've got the ladder on the end of the car there and the cast on handbrake chain details, as well as a little brakeman's perch up top. And you can see the KD number 5 there on the end of the car, as well as a way billboard right there. The A end of the car, identical to the B end. The only difference is no handbrake wheel or handbrake details, or a little brakeman's perch. You can see, I don't know how well you can see it, but you can see these little poling dimples here. Those look actually pretty cool. So the practice of poling has been out of vogue for a good while. For good reason. It was actually a very dangerous practice. For those of you that don't know, poling is where you take a pole and stick one end of the pole in the poling dimple there, and then the other end of the pole is put in a little poling dimple on a locomotive or another freight car. Say you were sending this car into an industry track and it didn't quite make it all the way, you would take the wooden pole that was on the sides of a lot of yard switchers or local power back in the day, and use that pole to kind of shove the car in place. That way you could save the time of trying to couple back up to the car and drag it out, or running around the car or whatever. It was a time-saving cheat, but it was a very dangerous practice because, you know, the poles would slip out of the pockets and could strike pedestrians or customer employees or trainmen in the process. If you weren't careful and weren't vigilant, you know, the poles would sometimes crack and split. So the next time you used it, it would actually splinter and shatter and send little bits of wood shrapnel flying through the air, just ready to embed into anyone in the immediate vicinity. So poling has been poling's been an illegal move for several years now, several decades now, with good practice. You know, if you look carefully on a lot of steam and transition era locomotives and second generation diesels, first and second generation diesels, you'll see poling pockets. Once you start getting into the third generation of diesels, you know, your GP40s and your SD40s and so on and so forth, you'll notice that there are no poling pockets on those locomotives, and there's certainly not any on newer freight cars. Getting back on topic, these Reefers are actually pretty damn good cars. They handle these 18-inch radius easy track curves and switches fairly well. Full disclosure, I did have to get the maintenance of way gang out here to hit these switches with a vengeance and file down these switch points so that they blend a lot better with the stock rail to allow these cars, not just these cars, but the cars that still have plastic wheels, to operate a lot more seamlessly over those switches. But now that that work is done, everything runs great, especially these cars. These cars are phenomenal models. Now, I've covered just about everything I can with these cars in this here review, talking portion of the review. We're going to throw a short train together and we'll send these things around the railroad with the lifelike chassis GP38, and y'all can see for yourselves how they do.